Hello friends, my name is Matt, and welcome to the Joy of Nerding. Today we're going to be making a doorbell holder, doorbell, I don't know what you call it. The actual switch is the doorbell, right? Actually, I guess the actual bell is the doorbell. We're going to be making a doorbell for the front door, because we changed our front door, and my wife would like something a little bit more custom than just the little rectangle, and we couldn't find anything that we liked, and she wants something a little bit more kitsch and a little bit more Disney. So we are going to be designing in CAD a Mickey Mouse doorbell that will take this button, which is an illuminated button that I got off Amazon, and then we'll be 3D printing it and screwing it onto the door. First, we should talk a little bit about intellectual property. So this is from Wikipedia, and to be clear, none of this constitutes legal advice. But the following is a list of creative works starring Mickey Mouse announced after Steamboat Willie Playing Crazy and The Gallopin' Gaucho, released in 1928, entered the public domain in the United States on January 1st, 2024. In January, multiple films and video games starring the iconic character were announced immediately. This list only includes works that received substantial media attention. So because Mickey is in the public domain, I assume that I can use the likeness without an issue. Obviously, personal use is a fuzzy area. I don't intend to sell this model. I'm giving it away. You can download it and do your own thing with it, your own remixes or whatever of the SCAD. But I thought that we should at least touch on the idea of this is a likeness of a fictional character, but it has entered the public domain, and therefore this all should be quite fine. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is have a look at our basic SCAD, and I'm going to throw in a few things that are going to be helpful. There is the chamfers for OpenSCAD, and there's triangles, which I find make things a little easier, and this $FN equals 360 gives you smooth circles, right? Smooth curves. Otherwise, you tend to be able to see the facets. This is kind of my minimum acceptable value for facets on curves. Going over what we're doing here, the chamfers has chamfered cylinders, which I want to make a cylinder for the ears, because you think about the Mickey silhouette and then there'll be a 3D extrusion of that. And I want the edges to be nice to touch. So we're going to throw a little bit of a chamfer around that. And then, of course, we'll print the whole thing. But we need to take some measurements first, right? And so this is, let's think about what we want. We want the head diameter. We want the ears diameter. I can type, I swear. And then we also have the button diameter, and we have the button depth, or maybe we should just call it depth. Oh, we'll go with button depth. Bear in mind, these are all going to be more precise. This is button depth specifically is depth of button up to flange, right? Because the flange, oh, and I suppose I should save it. Yeah, I saved it, and we're getting some syntax errors because we don't have any values for that. So let's flip over and do some measurements, shall we? All right, so here we have our button, our coins, and our calipers, which are, of course, upside down. So why coins? Well, the story that I heard, which might be apocryphal in nature or might not, was they came up with the Mickey shape by doing this. So this is a United States quarter, and these are United States dimes. Therefore, we should measure these and use them for our basis. So for a quarter, I get 24.27 millimeters. So let's put that in here at 24. We'll allow for some measurement imprecision. Should also mention all, I can type in millimeters. All right. And use a semicolon at the end of it. All right. A US dime. We'll round that up to 18. 18 millimeters for a US dime. The button. Now, if you notice, this has little prongs. See if I can get the focus to hit it. See, it's got little prongs. They're going to pop out and hold it in. We want to measure to the inner portion of those so that when it snaps in, those hold it in place. If we measured, for example, here, if you can see that, that would be too wide. We want to go to this point here. Get 18 millimeters. Want to make sure it has enough room for a spring. And then the depth, which is from the flange to the top. Now we can go taller than this, but it needs to have at least this much, which is 21. So I'm going to put a note here. Minimum is 21. We're going to do a nice round number of 25. So that's how much depth we're going to make sure to have for the button, right? Now, let's think about the wall thickness. I like 2 millimeters. Because 2 millimeters, I think, works really well. It's good and solid. Not sure when I'm going to print this in yet. It's got to be something weatherproof. So it might be ASA. Or we might do something a little bit more exotic like carbon fiber PETG. So let's start with our 3 cylinders. We want to get the ratio right. I think that's roughly on a 45-degree angle. And we want to have them intersect properly. So we start with my normal idea of I do these as modules that I then call a function. So module basic head, and then we call basic head here. And that should give us no errors, but of course nothing renders. We could just do a basic cube just to throw something up there. Hey, look, there's a cube. Everything is functioning. So now this is going to be essentially a 2-piece design because I want the screws to be hidden. So our main circle is going to contain our button, and it's also going to have 2 screw holes, right? And the button will sit into a cap, and the cap in turn sets into the face. So that is going to be flush cut. The cap, this is going to go into the cap is going to go into the unit or into the base, and the cap is going to snap in properly. Although, I have to wonder, we're going to noodle this out because I may not need to do that. I may be able to screw this in place and then just use this as the cap and just set this in. I hadn't thought about doing that, but why not? The other thing is our maximum width is 2 inches because that's the width of the trim. So that's 50 millimeters. So I'm going to do a note max width is 50 millimeters. And we may need to throw a 50 millimeter ruler on there to make sure that we're not exceeding it. Actually, one of the things I've done is mock-up trim piece. Module, let's do that. Trim piece mock up. So we want a cube that is 50 millimeters wide by 1 deep. Not sure that's right. By, we can go 100 tall. And I'm sure I'm going to want to transform that. Oh, and I need to change the color because I want it to be white as opposed to yellow so that we can see the difference. I don't know if it does named colors. RGB hex value. Ah, color name. Color white. Open curly brace because this cube needs to be color white. And I need to also do trim. Oh, and I forgot a closing brace here. Oh, I forgot my parens there. Forgot my closing brace here. What did I miss? Semicolon there. There we go. Okay, so then this is totally not what we wanted because it's vertical. So there we go. And we could center this, but we're not going to. Now, the one thing we want to do is drop it down 1 millimeter. So translate 0, 0, -1. And then that way it will be the base onto which our other things are placed. What did I miss? I missed an opening hard bracket. There we go. Now if we go down here, you can see our numbers are above it. So this has effectively become our ruler. And then if I put a cube here, it should be sitting on top of it, which it is. It's just really tiny. All right. Now, and you know what? I want to move that up 50. There we go. So now it's kind of centered this way, and then that way it's not going to look so stupid when we start messing with our Mickey head. Okay, so let's start with our chamfer cylinder. Chamfer cylinder, it gets a height H equals, what did we say? Button depth, we'll go with 25. Start with that. Equals, needs to be bigger than the, sorry, it's head diameter. Head diameter divided by 2. Because remember, the diameter is twice the radius. So we'll do CH equals 1 just to see what that looks like. A equals, go with a 45-degree angle. And Q equals 2, because that's the maximum circle quality. All right, so that is, oh, it's a 45-degree wedge. I want 360. There we go. Hey, look, that's roughly what we wanted. So it looks like we chamfered. I don't want chamfer at the bottom. CH2 equals 0, because by default it does both. Okay, so I have that backwards. CH is 0 and CH2 is 1. There we go. This is what I like to see. That looks kind of pretty. We'll have to do a punch out there, and we'll also have to do screw holes. And screw holes are going to be interesting because we need to be able to screw into them, but we want them to be hidden when we put in the button. But I think we can get away with that because we need to be able to get the screwdriver in, right? Don't forget. But we don't need a big hole at the back for the wires to come in. So that might work out pretty well. We need to leave a back wall. But anyway, I digress. So I want to go back to this cube and do center equals true. And that'll move it over. And then we get rid of this translation. And then this goes down by -0.5. And now, yeah, that's what I want to see. Okay, so that's how that looks. So far, so good. We like that, I think. This should actually have been button depth. Head diameter 2, yes, 360 degrees, quality 2. That looks beauteous to me. So let's do another one. That's our dimes. So all of these are the same, except R is ears diameter divided by 2, and we need to throw a translate on there. Translate, and we need to come up. We'll just assume 45. We want to go, Z is 0, but X and Y are both up half of the head diameter, right? So head diameter divided by 2. We want that twice. And then 0, because we're not going to come up in the Z dimension. And we throw this here. We throw this here. Tabby, tabby, go. So apart from the fact that we are 180 degrees flipped around, that's easy to solve because that's just a camera motion. Hey, that looks pretty good. And we are within constraint. I like it. We may try and make these a little bigger because I kind of want it to fill it, but maybe not. Maybe having it inset there actually looks right. So now we do the same thing. Except we want the Y1 to be negative. And there we go. There's our basic extruded Mickey head. Oh, to be clear, I'm going to print this on the textured PEI plate. So this is going to have a pebbled finish when done. So now let's punch out the hole, right? So the button diameter is 18. So we need to take the basic head module. What do we call that? Button? We'll call it a button. No, we're going to a doorbell. So this goes here. We throw doorbell here. And then we say difference. The basic head gets drawn. And then we take out a cylinder, which is the height equals... Oh, yeah, hang on. We can't do button depth. This needs to be button depth plus wall thickness. And this needs to be button depth plus wall thickness. And actually, let's do this. Head thickness equals button depth. Button depth plus wall thickness, and then H is now head thickness for both of these. What did I miss? Oh, yeah. Cylinder H equals button depth, and D equals button diameter. So that's a straight cylinder that goes there, but we need to translate this up by the wall thickness. So that's a Z up wall thickness. Otherwise, you won't end up with enough thickness to screw through. It'll punch out the back, and we want it to punch out the top. And I forgot a bracket here. And I like spaces after my commas. Still upset. Chamfer cylinder, parser error, what is it mad about? Line 33. I forgot a semicolon there. Got to always look at the line at the top. Now, this looks a little fuzzy. Why does this look a little fuzzy? Because there's an overlap on the Boolean operation, and it doesn't know exactly what to do. So we do this. Delta equals 0.01. This is immeasurably small in the tolerances of 3D printers, but it makes the manifolds happy. So in this case, we are going to do wall thickness. We're going to go up wall thickness plus delta, which allows a clean punch, except I forgot the semicolon again. See? Nice, clean punch out. That's what we want to see. Now, let's shoot some holes into the back. So we want to have screw holes here and here, and then we want to have a wire hole. So I think a 2mm screw hole should be good enough. Let me go find a screw. So if you think about it, we're doing this actual size, right? So we've got our Mickey head, and you shoot a screw here, shoot a screw here, and there still should be room for the wires. These are just random cap head screws that I found. The reason I'm going with cap head is because they're flush here at the bottom. We don't have any special material considerations that we would have to worry about in our application because this is being screwed into vinyl molding, PVC molding, and a not particularly weather exposed area. So we can play fast and loose with a few of these things. So let's get a good idea of what our screw is. 3.54. So we're going to call it a 4mm hole for this because we don't want the threads to engage the plastic. We want a nice clean shoot. So 2 4mm holes. All right, so we difference that, And now the way we do this is we just do a throw up here, screw hole diameter equals 4. And so then we want cylinder, and this is not going to be displaced up. We're actually going to displace it down. So while I'm thinking about that, we're going to have to go up some amount in the X. So we want to go, let's see, we want to go button diameter divided by 2, because we want to go up the radius, right? Minus wall thickness to make sure that the outer wall is the right amount, right? And now we want to go down just the delta amount, because that should get us good there. The height can be, kind of doesn't matter. It's got to be at least wall thickness. So we'll go wall thickness times 2. And then the diameter is, sorry, this should say H. H equals wall thickness times 2. And then D is our screw hole diameter. Screw hole diameter. Woo! And that should give us a hole shot through right there. Now this is not good enough. There's a little bit of issue here. Perhaps because I didn't go down enough. We can just do -1. Does that fix it? No. So that's another issue that we're hitting. I like the location is actually too tall. It's actually too far up here as well. So we're going to have to fix that. Delta. And I want to get rid of the trim piece mock-up just a second. And then that will let us see that. Oh, wait. Oh, that was the fuzzy. The fuzzy was it hitting the trim piece. It was trying to difference that out of the trim piece. So then let's do this. Since our trim piece doesn't matter, let's make this go back by 1. And so I created my own problem there. Now you can't see it. So it's just floating on top of our trim piece. If you view in, you can see it right here. It's floating. But that means we're not going to get any weird interface stuff. So that's why I was confused, because I was like, my math should be right. Yeah, my math was right. All right, so this needs to move down because we're up too high. So I translated this minus wall thickness. So let's do wall thickness times 2. And that might be too low. So times 1.5. This actually doesn't need to be a ratio. You can make it whatever you want. I just want to make sure that there's enough room for the screw head. And let's check on that. The screw head itself is 6.62 millimeters. So there's only a little bit, and I realize that this is an eyeball, but we should be good. So now let's do this and throw this down at the bottom. And the difference is that this now wants to go negative. So this whole thing is a negative quantity, and that would symmetrically give us a second hole down there. Look at that, right? Oh, now there's one other thing that I realize is a problem. If you think about how this flanged unit is constructed, I'm talking about this button. There needs to be a lip, a little bit of a lip for this to snap into. Otherwise, it'll just press and hold there. I mean, it would probably hold there by spring tension, but I'd rather have a snap. So measuring that, that is 1.5 millimeters. So we need a lip thickness. Call this here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to do that as a conical taper. And the reason is because we're printing this upside down, which means it's really easy to print a nice defined lip here. And then it would be, actually, I guess it doesn't matter. It would be kind of raggedy on the far edge, but who the heck cares if it's raggedy? You're never going to see it. And yeah, we'll see. I guess that means I don't need triangles. I was going to use triangles for some support stuff. I don't need triangles for some support stuff anymore, because this is a way less complex design, because as we thought about it, we don't need to worry about that. So let's keep track. This is our basic head. So this is our wire. No, this is our button cutout. This is our top screw hole. This is our bottom screw hole. And then we're going to need the wiring screw hole. No, not wiring screw hole, wiring hole. Now, let's do this and make this easy on myself. The wire is really tiny, right? 4 millimeters is probably enough. But I'm going to call that one 6. And that's going to be this cylinder. And that should be able to be just left at its default spot. Oh, no, I was going to say it should be able to left its default spot, but I need to translate it down by just the negative delta in order for it to get a clean punch. There we go. So this is a little thin, but I don't think we'll have a problem. There should be enough meat there to hold it. If anybody wanted to, they could rip it off, but that's true of any plastic doorbell. Okay, so now we need to cut out the lip, which we're going to throw that in here. So I am not typing well today, folks. Okay, so this is translate this up. So the difference is that this is button depth minus lip thickness. And it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be lip thickness down, but why not? And it's got to be button diameter plus a little bit. So, because I measured, I'm just double checking my measurements here. I measured from that top area and got 18. This wider area is, I need to not compress the springs while I do it. I'm just remeasuring here. Oh, hang on, wait a minute. I was hitting the flange. I wasn't measuring this properly. That inner diameter should only be, we'll go with, I'm getting 16.7. So we should do this as, this button diameter should be 17. And then the spring part, without compressing it, that should be 18. Yeah, that should be 18. I was catching on the lip as I was doing it. So button diameter is 17. And button, I don't know, relief? We'll call it spring diameter is 18. Okay, so now I save this and, oh, I was in the middle of something. This is the button spring diameter. And what did I do? D is button diameter, button depth plus lip. I saw it shrink, but it didn't make the lip that I was intending. Oh, it needed to come up a little bit. That's the problem. Wait, the height is the button depth minus lip thickness. And it needs to not be punching out at the bottom. That should have worked. So where did I go wrong? Let's take this out as a difference and call this a union. And that will help where I went wrong. So now it's just filling everything in. Now, of course, I can't do the basic head. Yeah, that's what our punch out should look like. What I've done here is I've taken out the difference. So this is now back to being a difference. Can I just not see it? I think I can just not see it. I think it's there. I think I just can't see it. Yeah, it is there. Okay. No, it was there the whole time. My math was right. This green cutout is just really hard to see. Let's do this. I'm going to show you something. Let's get rid of the trim piece mock-up and look at it from the bottom. Because if we do that, see, there's our rim. We can see it. It was there the whole time. I just can't see because I was looking at it like this and saying, hey, look, where's our rim? It's really hard to see in this render, but you can see it here. So that's what we want. We've got a nice big hole to stick our button in. The spring should snap on quite nicely. We've got screw holes. We've got wire hole. Let's do it to it. It's nice and chamfered. Now, what's going to happen here is this is going to need some support because otherwise it's going to be a bridgy mess. And I'm okay with that. We're going to do build plate support only. And that means that our bridging is only going to be around here. And that should be okay. We could throw a chamfer here and make this angled in some way to ease 3D printing, but I'm just going to throw some supports in here. If I'm using PETG, I have that cool support interface material, and I'm printing this in black, so the cool support interface material in black is not going to make a difference. I should just be able to rip that right out, and we'll just make sure to only put it on the build plate. We don't want to have to kind of try and scrub the inside of this, but I think that will work well. So let's throw that as the render. And it goes thinking, thinking, thinking. Now that's rendered with no errors. We have a nice object. So I want to make sure to save this, and then I want to export this as an STL, which is going to export as Mickey Mouse Doorbell, and we are good. So let's pull it into Bamboo Studio and get it on the printer. All right, so I dug around in the back, seeing what I had. It turns out I don't have any PETG CF, but I have some ASA CF, and it looks really cool. It's a brand new spool. I've never used it. ASA is perfectly weatherproof and strong. As long as we get good layer adhesion, we'll be in good shape. All right, so we've got our Bamboo Studio open and new project. And we want to get rid of this, and this is going to be Bamboo ASA CF. This should use the chamber fan. It's one of the things I like about the X1 Carbon is that it has that chamber fan so that all of the stinky stuff goes away. Let's pull in our model. There we go. Now I want to flip this upside down. I want the red flippy, I guess. There we go, 180 degrees flipped so that we can run supports here, and then that way our inside will be really sharp. So let's do high quality and shoot the moon and kind of see how that goes. For support, we want to enable support, and let's slice that and see what it looks like. These should print pretty quick. Yeah, total printing time, 1.5 hours, even on this super high quality setting. And we're going to get the ears will get most of the bevel. Yeah. Oh, so we want to go down to here. Come on, go down to here. There we go. So this is our first layer, and the green is support here. And so yeah, we're going to get support, 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 and it will just throw some supports here. Interesting that it's not, oh, I see. It's printing supports at a greater thickness. That's what it's doing. And that makes perfect sense. That's why you get that flashy as we animate it up. I want a stronger infill for this. Actually, maybe I don't. Do we care if the ears are strong? I don't know that we care if the ears are strong. So let's go down and think about this. I want this to be stronger. So let's go to strength and set the infill density to 50%. And reslice. So now it says it's going to go from 1.5 hours to 2 hours 15, 2 hours 13. But you see the infill density is much higher, and that should give it a lot more strength. You don't ever want to do 100% infill density because that's the dumb, and it will not allow room for a little bit of expansion and contraction, so you'll get weird bubbles and stuff. All right, this should do it. This should be good to go. And so let's get this on the printer and see what she does. All right, friends, the print's done. Let's have a look at it. So here's our print. Let's pull the supports. That was relatively clean. Hey, that was nice and clean. That's pretty good, actually. Got a nice, sharply defined lip here. See if I can get a light on it so you can see. See? Focus. There we go. See, it's kind of hard to see that shadow. You can see the shadow really well, but it's hard to pick up the lip because it's black on black. But trust me, you can feel it with your finger. It's really good. I'm happy with the surface finish. There's a little bit here that I'm going to scrape off with the back of the knife. Just got a little bit of texture. That was, as it was putting down that first layer, even with the elephant foot compensation on, you still get a little bit because it's pebbly. If it wasn't using this pebbled one, we'd be all right. And there we go. Now that feels nice. As you can see, we got a nice, the sparkly texture is sparkly because it's pebbled, so it's not sharp. None of this is sharp. That's all good. So now, moment of truth. Let's see how well this snaps in. We should be good. Let's give it a push. Hey, look at that. That is perfect. That snapped in just like we wanted it to. Love it. And I just need to make sure I can get it out, but I should be able to. So this is a metal, I think it's called a spudger tool for getting apart electronics and other things that are fit just like that. You work it around the outside. Brilliant. Comes right apart. Yeah, that is very satisfying. Our holes in the back are nice and sharp. Let's make sure our screws fit. You know what would help? Screwdriver. Ideally, we want a long, thin screwdriver, but just for this, I'm going to see if I can... Actually, I'm dumb. I don't need to worry about that. I can test it from this side. Genius. Goes right in. Goes right in. The head kind of messes with the screw hole, but not too bad. Although I suppose I should make sure that it clears the outer wall, huh? That's probably true. You know what? Let me get my other toolkit, which has a long, thin screwdriver. So I've got one of these extensions, and I've got this unit here. So let's get a bigger head. It'll be more stable. Yeah, this is a number 1 Phillips. All right, screw. So this is going to be fun to install. I do not have a magnetic screwdriver. Yep, this fits. Yeah, that's quite nice. I don't have a magnetic screwdriver, so I think we may go to the old trick of putting a little bit of Blu-Tack on the screw. I checked the top one, and it's hard to hold the screws in there like that. So let's try and get the bottom one. Oh, wrong hole. There we go. That was it. Okay. So both of those clear the outer wall just enough, and there's a small amount of overlap with the wire hole, but that's not a problem. So we're good. Let's get this installed on the door. Okay, and here we are on location in the front of the house. So let's get the old doorbell off and get this new one on. When we did the trim, I didn't bother to screw this in, because why? So couple of screws here. Try not to let these touch, because if you do, it will ring the bell and the dog will bark and people will wonder what's going on. Where's the delivery person? All those things. We want this to be straight. So I've got my little square here. And so this is, we'll go with English measurements. So this is 1 inch. And I'll just do a little line here. And on the other side. So I should be able to see that through my screw holes when we mount this. All right, got my screwdriver and my screws and my doorbell. I'm gonna say outlet. No, it's not an outlet. And again, I'm running these through separately as possible, despite the fact that I have to go through a common hole, because I'm trying to not ring the bell on people, which of course is making it annoyingly difficult. But I've got my thumb over the one of them. There we go. All right. So let's get these wires out of the way. Wires can actually hold it, which is a little helpful. And can get it centered. And of course, that is the issue. Trying to do it without Blu-Tack, which is probably a mistake. Somebody's got a fun little motorcycle there. My kingdom for a magnetic screwdriver. I'm curious if I even have one. Okay. Got some Blu-Tack, which you can't see. There we go. See? Blu-Tack. And so the Blu-Tack trick is to take a little ball of it, jam it into the screw head, and it'll make your screw head a little sticky. See? Work smarter, not harder. This vinyl's pretty soft, so you can get this in pretty easily. Another one. It's not in all the way because I want to be able to get it straight, because there is a small amount of play in those screw holes. Now, if you're doing this into regular wood, you might consider pilot holing it. I didn't, because it's not really necessary with this PVC vinyl stuff. All right, that's one in all the way. Probably even more Blu-Tack than I even needed. In fact, this Blu-Tack came off. If you want, you can actually pull it off, which I guess I'll do because it's a bit much here. Let me use the end of my screwdriver to get it. There we go. There's one bit. There's still a little bit in the screw head. I was probably a little overly generous. And there's the other bit. So that's that. Now let's do our contacts for our power and bell signal. And we should know that this is working because the light should light up, because this is supposed to be an illuminated switch. So let's do this. A little bend back in the wire. Screw. Oh, that's the wrong way around. If you want to be proper, when you are screwing in things, you want the wire to get pulled in, not pushed out. So you hook it here, and now I'm twisting it, and as I do that, it's pulling towards me. So your wire wants to go in the direction of your screw turning. So this left side one is twisted down, this right side one is twisted up. Hey, look, we've got a light. So that's working. And now we should just be able to gently fold these wires in and push this whole thing in. I'm trying very hard to not press the button, because pressing the button would activate the bell, and I don't want to ring-a-ding-ding everybody in the house if I can avoid it. Now, the issue is we have to get our wires in here. So now we should be good. There we go. There we go. Nice, illuminated doorbell. Great. Yet another project done. Hello, friends, and welcome to the portion of the show where I recommend something to read or watch or listen to while working on whatever you're working on. Usually the way that I do this is that I try and find something that's really topically related, but there's not much in the way of literature that I've read on doorbells, and I don't really care to delve into the back catalog of Mickey Mouse. So I'm just going to go completely off in left field and pick a book that I like. This book is called And on That Bombshell, Inside the Madness and Genius of Top Gear, which I can't read in my head without hearing Jeremy Clarkson's voice. So I'll read you the back jacket text. I was Top Gear's script editor for 13 years and all 22 series. I basically used to check spelling and think of stupid gags about the Stig. I also got to hang around with Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May. It didn't feel like something you should get paid for. From the disastrous pilot show of 2002 to the sudden and unexpected ending in 2015, working on Top Gear was quite a roller coaster ride. We crossed continents, we made spaceships, we bobbed across the world's busiest shipping lane in a pickup truck. We also got chased by an angry mob, repeatedly sparked fury in newspapers, and almost killed one of our presenters. I realized that I had quite a few stories to tell from behind the scenes of the show. I remembered whose daft idea it was to get a dog. I recalled the willfully stupid way in which we decorated our horrible office. I had a sudden flashback to the time a Bolivian drug lord threatened to kill us. I decided I should write down some of these stories. So I have. I hope you like them. And now, a quote from James. Richard Porter has asked me to write a quote for his new book about the ancient history of Top Gear, but this is a ridiculous request. How can one write a quote? Surely, by definition, a quote must be extracted from a greater body of writing for the purpose of illustrating or supporting a point in an unrelated work. I cannot write a quote any more than I could film an outtake. Porter, like Athens, has lost his marbles. I don't know about all of you, but I was a big fan of Top Gear, and I also very much enjoyed the Grand Tour. And really, Top Gear was not Top Gear without Hammond, Clarkson, and May. So I haven't really watched it since Clarkson left. Well, that's not fair. I watched the end of that season, and then May and Hammond's contracts were up, and it was kind of the end of an era. This book gives you a bunch of behind the scenes in it, which is, I thought, really nice, and it was a interesting read, at least for me. Hopefully you'll enjoy it too. Thank you all for watching, and as always, stay nerdy.